All right, so once again, we're here at the QBIQ Podcast. I'm Chris Hickson, your host, and what we try to do here is bring you guys that are going to illuminate the idea of how to get better at football. Great stories about players and coaches and everything that changes the game or keeps the game as high character as it can. And not just here in the States, we're talking about Europe as well. So I can't wait to bring on this host or this guest, but before I do that, my co-host, Chet Walters. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, Chris? What's up?
Well, it's cold, man. I don't know this cold vortex that scientific conversation of why it's cold. I don't know. I just know it feels cold. So I try to stay indoors as much as possible.
Cold is a state of mind.
There you go. It's perspective, man. We got to be right. Steel chamber in the head, dude. Today we got a good one, man. Who do we have today?
Man, we do this a lot. And we're getting guys from private quarterback coaches to college coaches to high school coaches. And now we've got somebody that's kind of a mix of everything. And Will Powell he's the CEO of The Podium, and I'll let him describe it later on. But three-time all-conference player at South Dakota, University of South Dakota. And, overall just global ambassador of American football. Will, what's up, man?
Hey, Chet, Chris. Pleasure to be on the podcast, guys.
Well, yeah, thanks for being on, man. We're really excited. My experience with you, Will, man, we've known each other for a couple years now. You guys have a big all-star event in Miami, which is awesome, that I've been a part of the last 2 years, and so thankful to kind of extend our friendship into a podcast now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's crazy how the sport of American football connects people and allows you to build relationships with people you never really imagined. And I think we'll get into that further down the line as far as Europe and Mexico. But no, yeah, Chet, starting out with the All-Star game, 2 years ago down in Miami, our first one, and then you coming back this last year. And just from us seeing each other a couple of times in person, I feel like you're one of my good buddies now. So happy to be talking with you guys. Yeah,
likewise. So, growing up in South Dakota, when you think about it, man, I think of South Dakota as there's nothing going on there except a bunch of wildlife and some crazy guys hunting them. So what's it like in South Dakota, and what was it like staying there and going to college and all that?
Yeah, so you're right. There's a lot of hunting going on, a lot of pheasant and deer hunting going on up there, which I don't partake in. But South Dakota, I think, is ranked like 49th or 48th out of 50 in terms of the high school level of football and the competition level. So regardless of that, football is still the top sport in the state, and we are starting to produce a lot more Division I caliber athletes. You got Dallas Goddard, who went to South Dakota State. He's tight end with the Eagles, was drafted. Nate Gary, who's from Sioux Falls, a buddy of mine, playing for the Eagles as well, actually now. Dale Moss, who I'm with down here in Atlanta, from Sioux Falls, was with the Bears for several years, and now he's huge in the football influencing world. But yeah, so from South Dakota, my only Division I full ride offer was the University of South Dakota. So obviously my family and all my friends, pushed me to accept that, and why not? I'm debt free now, and I had an incredible time there. So yeah, that's South Dakota, I guess, in a nutshell for me.
Very cool, very cool. And before we get into Podium and what y'all do there, your first experience overseas with football was your own playing experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I was a three-time all-conference receiver at USD. Thought I had every chance to make it to the NFL. Tried to make it on my pro day, ran slow, history of knee issues, and I didn't even get a shot. So very devastating time in my life. Fortunately, I didn't give up there. I desperately wanted to keep playing, and traveling had been something that had always been on my heart since I was in high school. And fortunately, I got a contract in the south of France, right on the Mediterranean Sea, and I couldn't pass it up. So that's where it started. I then went on to play in Germany with the top team in Europe, the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns. Yes, the unicorns. And then my last year was in Serbia with the Novi Sad Dukes. So I tell people wholeheartedly that it was the best 3 years of my entire life, and that's why we ended up starting Podium.
And that's so cool. And you tell people that was the best time of your entire life. What was, outside of football, what was it? What's one key thing or two key things, man, that you took from that experience that has impacted your life?
Right. So for me, when I didn't make the NFL and, because of my injury history, I knew that I wasn't going to progress in terms of, once I went over there, that was it. I wasn't going back to the CFL. I wasn't coming back to the NFL. So for me, football was, just half the experience. The other half was experiencing the world, experiencing different cultures, in France specifically, learning French, just taking in all the culture that I possibly could, because being from South Dakota, it's a pretty sheltered, closed-minded place in a lot of ways. So getting out there, going to see the world. I've been to 28 countries now, most of which I traveled while I was playing those 3 years over there. So investing in experience for me was one of the best decisions of my life.
That's very cool, man.
Hey, so Will, whenever we get to talk to somebody that, is changing the game, and maybe not changing it, but just enhancing it, right? You get a chance to really take your stuff that you've learned here in the U.S. and then bring it over to Europe and down to Mexico and really extend the knowledge of American football. What's the challenges? What's the key challenges to getting guys to close the gap in between where they are currently status-wise compared to where American football's at?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, obviously funding, right? So there's a huge discrepancy in Europe specifically between the top teams and then the lower teams. The Germany and the GFL1 is the top league in Europe. And the top teams in that league have huge budgets, north of $1 million, $2 million. And so they're able to invest in coaches and they're able to invest in players. And for those programs, the future is very bright, because with money, you're able to have the resources to really teach players and get kids started at a younger age, which leads me to the next point of the biggest thing missing internationally is quality coaching, period. In the past, it's kind of changing now, but in the past, players weren't starting to play until they were, over 18 years old in Europe, and we'll talk about Europe. And so, there was really no chance for them to progress and do anything with their careers outside of just making it a hobby. Well, now over the last, let's say 7 years, these programs, now that they have more money, they are investing in youth programs, and you're starting to see it. There's 5 to 10 European players that are getting FBS scholarships every year now. And so, as far as growing the game, the more quality coaching that we can get into the youth level in Europe and Mexico, you're going to just drastically see the level increase internationally. So
keying in on quality coaching is the big challenge overseas. How can QBIQ help?
Well, I think that's pretty simple. The number one thing that's missing in Europe is quarterbacks. Like that's not up for argument. Like, it's a fact, and that's because these European teams always import an American quarterback for their senior team. So of course the young kids, they don't want to just practice quarterback their whole life and then just to be replaced by an American. However, QBIQ can kind of change that culture of not having the European quarterback. And the quarterback position is the most difficult, intricate position to play. And if you can get QBIQ implemented to these youth players in Europe, they're going to learn the game at a younger age. They're going to be able to lead their teammates, and they're just going to have a broader sense of what's needed to play the position and to make quick decisions. And so I think QBIQ is absolutely needed over there. And if you guys can get it started, I think it's going to really blow up and help change that culture of European QBs really kind of being non-existent.
Yeah, and I think with, some of the things, the strategic ideas that you and Chet have been coming up with are going to be key in terms of how we dynamically use each other's network to help grow and close that gap of the coaching, the quarterback position, the wide receivers understanding the route detail, and QBIQ illuminating the idea of here's how that defense structurally wants to work. Here's what really works with that grain of that defense. And when you guys get together and you and Coach Walters figure out how do we best do that, I mean, we're gonna execute that plan as soon as you guys come up with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the thing is, like, in countries where the sport isn't as developed, I mean, it is very developed in Germany. It's not in other countries in Europe. It's not as developed. Mexico, it's developed, but the coaching isn't really there at the youth level. In Brazil, it's absolutely not there, the coaching. And so again, like, these kids are watching how to play the sport on YouTube, and it's crazy the things that they pick up. What they're not getting is why they're doing these things. Why are you running a slant? Why are you running a quick fade against cover two? Why should a quarterback throw the corner if a corner is pressed in cover two, right? So, like, those are the things that are missing that these kids just aren't getting. And if they get it, the game will evolve internationally. And like I said, you're going to see a lot more quality players come to the U.S.
Oh, that's great. Enter QBIQ. I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish, is growing that knowledge of why we're doing particular things and why things work. So, with saying that, I just want everybody to know who we're talking to here. We're talking with Will Powell of the Podium, a guy who played football, college football here in the United States, of course, from South Dakota, played at home at University of South Dakota, just racking up numbers over there, almost blew up scoreboards when he was out there playing, and then extending the football knowledge just not here in the U.S., but outside these country borders into Europe and in Mexico. And he has such a broad view of understanding what it's like worldwide in the football industry, and he's trying to extend that. So, obviously whenever we get a chance to talk to somebody with such great understanding of the football world, we're all ears, and especially it helps us understand how to better serve our client here at QBIQ Systems. So, we appreciate any moment we get, especially with somebody like Will Powell from the Podium. Just real quick, in the middle of this, I want to know, how can guys reach out to you? Do you have social media? Do you have a website?
Yeah. So our website's you can find us at thepodium.com. And if you're a high school player, you can sign up for Podium Preps. And if you're a college or pro player, you just sign up at the Podium. And on social media, it's just at the Podium on Instagram and at the Podium on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Man, so you got all the plugins.
It's good stuff, man. I say, from the 2 years working with Will at the All-Star game and everything, man, it's really cool opportunity that some of these guys are getting, and I would recommend Podium to anybody out there that wants to play football, whether it's prep, high school, college, international. Man, these guys are doing the work for you.
Right. So and just to get back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say, in regard to the platform, so, Podium it's a recruiting platform. So getting back to when my co-founder and I, Marcus Sims, when we did make the NFL in 2013, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to contact arena teams, international teams, but yeah, we desperately wanted to play. And so that's the problem that we're trying to solve with our platform is, players that don't make the NFL, giving them the opportunity to go play in Europe, to go play in the indoor leagues, to go play in Mexico or Brazil. And we've got 17,000 athletes and coaches on the platform now. We work with over 400 teams across the world. So our network is huge and it's growing every day. So if you want to play internationally, go to the Podium and we'll get you connected.
All right. So I want everybody to hear that. If you want to play internationally, contact the podium. They're the key channel to being able to accomplish that. So it's that time in the segment that I always like to ask a key question, either interesting fact or whatnot. And Will, there was a moment in time where, and I actually have two key questions. There was a moment in time at University of South Dakota, you actually rushed the ball and you only rushed it once, and you averaged -1 yard on that carry. What happened? Now, don't get me wrong. Now, you were an all-conference player 3 years in a row. But this one particular play, what happened?
I believe it was my junior year, and we were trying to mix up the offense a little bit. So I convinced my OC, Wes Bashaner, to put me in the shotgun as the RB. I got an outside zone, and Deanne just came up and smacked me behind the line. and that was about it. That was the end of my collegiate rushing career.
Oh, man. Well,
short and sweet.
One other question.
Yeah, short and sweet.
You had not only that, you also had a kick return. Didn't you? You had a kick return it doesn't have any stats for it. Why?
I'm trying to think of when that would have been. I think that was, so the only kick return I can actually remember was me catching an onside kick and then getting smacked and fumbling the ball. So
that's why.
So fortunately, I think they kept the fumble off of my stats, but I guess I just exposed myself there.
Oh man! Well, just we all have those stats. I mean, it would be insane. I played quarterback for a lot of years, and obviously, I threw my share of picks. So I've got plenty of those as well. So. Again, to all the QBIQ podcast listeners, I mean, you got to understand something. I'm talking to Will Powell from the podium. He's got a history in football of playing, and he's playing football also overseas, and he's traveled that journey trying to make his NFL, his workout day to transpire, and it didn't go the way he wanted. But football wasn't done. He was able to go over to Europe and continue his career, and he's now the channel for guys to go and play in Europe. So if you want to get and continue your career, and especially, I wish I had done it. The thing, I got an opportunity, and I didn't take the opportunity to go play in Italy. And I wish I did, because I listen to stories like Will's, where there's these amazing other countries, beautiful cities and countries that I could have seen. So don't hesitate. Get in touch with the podium. And figure out a way to channel yourself over to continue your career in football. Not only that, you'll have a blast playing with guys from another country and learning culture. So definitely get in touch with Will Powell at the podium. And I want to thank my co-host Chet Walters. I want to thank Will Powell for being on today. And hey, when you guys hear this, the podcast has dropped, and we'll see you next time. The next time on QBIQ Podcast. I'm Chris Hickson with QBIQsystem.com. Reach out to us and get to us. Get the system today.